Hi, I thought I'd take you through some Turbo Trainer, just some basics, as it looks like we're not going to get back in the turbo room or spin room for any time in the near future. So we're thinking of doing club sessions, and just want to show you all the ways you can be set up and how as a club we can do it no matter what setup you've got. So we'll talk about the different turbos, the different apps that are available, and how you actually don't need any of them for what we're going to do. So you've heard people talking about smart turbos or non-smart turbos. So if we just come, Lou, if you just come over. So we got, if you like, 3 different types of turbo. We've got this turbo here, where you see it's called a wheel on. The wheel is on the back part of the Turbo Trainer. And in this sort of variation, it could be smart or non-smart. So all smart means is there's some electronics built in there for connectivity, and that's going to allow it to connect to a PC or a tablet or a phone to run various types of apps. So the non won't have any of that, but it's exactly what we used to use many years ago doing cycle training. And I can show you a video here of Coach Troy, as we used to follow how technical things used to be when you used to just have cadence and heart rate or effort level, RPE, whatever we used for training, and that can all still be used for our sessions today for people that don't have a complete technical setup. The other type of Turbo Trainer is this one here. Lou, you'll need to come around. If you come around this side, so you can see on this one it's a direct drive Turbo Trainer. If I move around here, you can see the rear wheel isn't on the bike. The chain is connected directly onto a cassette on the wheel of this Turbo Trainer here. They're always smart in this sort of configuration. It's a more modern type Turbo Trainer. The idea is that it's supposed to give you a better road feel compared with the wheel on type. Of course, the difference is it's more expensive, though it doesn't trash your tyres. But even normally, I mean, for years everybody used the tyre-on version. These are quite new, these types, and you just run your tyres through the summer, run it on the turbo through the winter, buy a new rear tyre every year, and that should get you through. So if we look at, I'm just going to show you on the screen here one of the apps we've got open. This is probably one of the most popular ones, Zwift, and you can see it's almost like a sort of cartoon graphics type thing. And in the top left corner here we've got our power number. So for those of you that have done spin within the gym, you'll be aware of training with power up till now. It's typically what people talk about now for training on a bike, just because it's so easily measurable. It's not variable like your heart rate. It doesn't change every day. It's exactly the same, but of course you have to have a way of measuring that power. So on the smart turbo trainers, they have power built in, and that number gets transmitted via Bluetooth, which you have on your phone, or the other standard that's used is a thing called Ant+. Most of you probably have it on your bike computers if you've got a Garmin bike computer, whether you're aware of it or not. And you'll need a small Ant+ type dongle here that plugs into your laptop, and that will pick up the sensor as well. Now that's not completely necessary. There is a workaround for that as well. You can get a speed cadence sensor. This is an old broken Garmin one I've got here. Come around here. So all you do with the speed cadence sensor, it's going to clip onto the chainstay of your bike here. You have a magnet on your wheel, you have a magnet on your crank, and as the two are turning around, the cadence sensor measures the speed that your tyre's turning at, and the RPM to get your cadence. And this is then becomes what's known as virtual power. So you can enter into one of these apps, you tell it what sort of turbo trainer you're on, and it'll then do a calculation saying, well, if you're going at 20k an hour and you must be putting out X amount of watts. If you're doing 30k an hour, you're obviously putting more power, you're working harder. So it'll then do a calculation and it'll just send that information to whatever app you're using. So one of these can be got for 15 quid from Decathlon or wherever. So your very cheapest turbo, you'll easily, without a smart, you'll pick one up sort of probably for about 30 quid, probably something. 50 in the current times as they're popular. And then your smart trainer, you're going to start picking up smart trainers. They're still a bit harder to get at the moment because so many people bought one during the start of COVID when you weren't allowed outside. So you're probably going to be spending 150 odd pounds going upwards on getting a smart turbo trainer. So just looking at some of the technology we've got. So as I said, this is Zwift. If you just come round with. So all that's going to happen is as I start pedaling here, so my power number starts appearing on the screen, and of course my figure on the screen then starts moving. Now what it's also looking at, I'll stop pedaling so we don't get a noise. So I've got my power number here, which is my actual power I'm putting out. And then on this side of the screen, we have watts per kilogram. So what that means is it's taking my power number here. I've input my weight into this app, and all it's doing is taking my weight and it's dividing it through to give me a watts per kilogram. So just for simplicity's sake, on my numbers today, we'll say I'm 80 kilograms. So if I'm pedaling at 160 watts, divide through by 80 means I'm going at 2 watts per kilo. And it'll tell me that on the screen. And again, if I go up to 240 watts, 3 watts per kilo, etc., keeps going. So therefore, as we're cycling, the idea is it's not necessarily who puts out the most power, because somebody who's far smaller, like your typical, like somebody who's a very good hill climber or something, may be very light. Their power number may not be as big as a larger person, but the watts per kilo is what's used to actually calculate how fast you're going. So everybody can work at their own effort level, and if we're say doing a session where you say everyone ride at 2 watts per kilo, which is your typical aerobic, easy type ride, everyone can stay together on an app. Okay, so different apps depend on what you like. Zwift is the most popular. As you see, it's quite cartoony, graphical. You've got lots of options. There's workouts built in. You can go racing on it, or we can go on, which is we do on Saturday mornings at the moment. We can have a group ride where we organise just the people in the club. We get together and we ride, and we can just follow the instructions of what's happening. And you can also organise those group rides that you tick a wee button that says keep everyone together. So even if one person, if you're feeling really tired and you can't keep up with everyone, will be kept together in the group and you'll end up riding together. Another app, RGT. I'm not going to turn this, I'll show you this one. So RGT is a bit different. You can see it uses almost like real life film, and you feel like you're cycling in whatever destination you're at. The other thing for RGT is they have what they call magic roads. You can take a ride you've done, input that ride into RGT, it appears on the screen, and you can ride a ride you've already done. So that's exactly what Kirsten and I were using when we rode the Étape in July. And again, can be quite useful just for if you're going to do a race, you've never seen the course, you can put the magic road into RGT and you can go and do a course recce effectively. The other app that we use, or have used, is called Trainer Road. It's slightly different in that all you're going to see is there's thousands of different training programs in it, and that's the sort of what Trainer Road work on. So on Trainer Road, you're going to follow a graph on a screen, and that'll just give you your power outputs, and again you just follow those power outputs rather than necessarily following other people. So Zwift and Trainer Road, you can use virtual power. RGT cycling, you can't. You must have real power. Again, that real power maybe doesn't come from the turbo. It could come from a power meter or power pedals. If that's something you've got, they can also connect up. But for club sessions, this is what we want to do. We're going to start probably looking to try and run a club session again. We'll do a whole club session over Zoom, and we can do that based on, we can have people riding at power, we can have people riding on heart rate zones, and we can have people riding on perceived effort. So we say ride 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5, 5 out of 5, go really hard. So again, we can do that. We can have everyone together on Zoom. We can also use another app called Discord as well, where you can just use a phone app called Discord. You can speak, it allows you just to speak and have a chat with other people whilst we're going through the session, because sometimes it can be a bit harder to see on Zoom, and with the noise of the turbo, it can sometimes be harder to speak to each other. So I hope that gives you a bit of an intro. Hopefully you can get set up. I realise that not everybody's got more than one turbo per household, which may be limited for some people, but kind of feel it'd be better to at least do something than do absolutely nothing, as it could be a long time before we get back in. Would like to do a session, a sort of evening session, and then probably also start Sunday morning sessions as well. Go for a longer Sunday morning ride once the weather turns and we're getting into sort of full-on winter turbo weather, if you like. So that's a nutshell, if you like, of what's being planned. I would sort of recommend, again, you really don't have to, you might not have the setup that allows you to do it, but with virtual power you can get onto Zwift quite cheaply, and it costs you £3 a week to take part on Zwift, which is the same effectively as what you were paying to go into the spin room at Edinburgh Leisure every week, and it'll just make it a bit more of an immersive experience for everyone taking part all together as a club, and you'll be all there together on the screen, if you like, as opposed to just all on the Zoom call. Yeah, it's definitely not necessary to have all the smart gubbins and the apps and everything. We'll make it work for everybody as best we can, and hopefully as many people as possible start joining in the sessions until we can get everything back to normality.